Mikey, shit's gonna go bad. Boom, 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 boom. I forgot to do my classic drum solo. What's going on, internet? This is MJT Football. Tony Tucker here, host of this ship that's gonna steer right into an iceberg. This is gonna be the fucking Titanic. I'm already off the rails. We got NFL Mike, the NFL Mike. Follow him on social media, or if it's just NFL Mike, you'll find him. You probably already know if you're watching this. But it is the Joe Morley. Go follow him. My favorite troll on the internet. Nobody trolls like Joe Morley. Great news. Teams are back in NFL training camp. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about a list that came out, the NFL's 30 over 30. It's the first time I've ever seen a list like this. Normally it's like Forbes, the 25 under 25 or whatever it is. This list to me was like, it felt like there had to be some talking points kind of wedged into this list. Like, we can't just like make it standard. We gotta do some crazy shit. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And other random stuff. But the one thing I want to start with, anybody watching this chat later, now, whatever, comments. Olympics are a week away. Are you guys about the Olympics? Is there an Olympic event you look forward to? Is there an Olympic event that you'd like to try? Like a summer games. That's what we'll focus on right now. Let's keep it in the summer games. I'm going to start with Mike. He's bobbing and weaving over there.
Yeah, because I was thinking boxing. All right, they're doing boxing in Paris.
I think so, right? Yeah. I don't know if they've ever removed it.
That's the one that I would like to see. And then basketball, of course. My king, daddy, sunshine, GOAT, LeBron James leading Team USA once again into battle and strengthening the GOAT debate. LeBron James playing for his country at age 40. Michael Jordan was stealing from his country at age 40. It's a big difference.
Wait.
I'm just a hater. I wanted to try and trigger Joe into saying something, but he didn't say anything.
Yeah, and I was distracted too because something came up. Like, now you have to have a premium account to stream on Twitter. Elon, you're losing me, buddy.
Yeah, no, like I was gonna say, why did it take us off Twitter right now? That's
crazy. It said that if we want to keep this going, we have to upgrade our premium account or something. And I was like, whatever this is. I just started checking out the boxes. I don't know what's going on over there, but Mike. What I heard was Mike thinks that he could play for the NBA team for the USA basketball.
No. That's not where I was going with that. Where I was going with that is that I'm excited to see this team play together. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Seeing LeBron and Steph and KD and Edwards. I mean, every time we have the Olympics come around for basketball specifically, it's like we put together an all-star team. But what I like about the Olympic and the USA teams, it's not just like flat all-stars. Like, it's kind of like up and comers. You got some young guys in there in the mix as depth and stuff like that. So I'm pumped to see that. And they get to go against some of the other NBA stars in other countries.
Well,
I'm looking forward to.
They took a role player in Derek White over Finals MVP Jaylen Brown. Yeah. And there's lots of speculation on why that happened. To me, it's criminal to not have Jaylen Brown on the team, but. Joe,
and Tatum's on the team, right?
He is on the team.
Yeah.
See, when it comes to Olympics, I don't know what it is, but I start watching some weird ass sports. Like when it's winter, you watch curling. Everybody watches curling. Nobody knows the damn rules, but you watch curling. Summer Olympics, you know what we're watching? Rowing. You're watching rowing for some dumbass reason. Water polo. I'll start watching water polo and be like, how the hell are these people doing it? And then there was one more that I had written down for you, Tony. That I was doing. Oh, of course, the beach volleyball. Beach volleyball is like you have to watch that one, like especially if you're a man and there's other stuff on TV.
Yeah.
those games get intense.
Little summer,
like, those like high school kids are watching the beach volleyball, going, "This is the Girls Gone Wild from back in the day."
The beach volleyball always looks like one of those things where I'm like, how come there's not more sand stuck to them? Because when they're like, you're working out and you're sweaty and then you're diving in the sand, like, how are people not covered in sand? It should be covered in sand.
Yeah, but I'm sure they have something that they put on it, right? That they put on their skin that doesn't get all that. Like maybe
that just makes sand impervious to adhering to moisture. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like one of my least favorite things about going to the beach is when it's like, okay, it's time to go. And then I was just in the water. My feet haven't had a chance to dry. Like I'm going to have sand in between my toes until I take a shower. And that shit drives me nuts. Like it's my least favorite part about being at the beach is like, I need to get out of the water at least 20 minutes, dry up and get as much sand out of my toes as possible, or I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. The sand sucks. But do you watch rowing? Rowing is badass.
Well, so the one that you talked about that I'm a really big fan of is water polo. Because I'm a pretty good swimmer. Grew up, swimming in Lake Superior and pretty good at treading water. Also, I've always liked the sport. But then I was watching this. I'm going to tie this back into football and the Kansas City Chiefs, which we're going to be talking about. One of the most impressive things I've ever seen was when they were hyping up George Karlaftis and why I wanted the Chargers to consider him drafting him the year they took Zion Johnson. Was this guy played water polo in Greece and could tread water for like 10 minutes while holding a chair above his head. Now, I challenge anybody out there to just tread water while just holding your arms in the air because it is almost impossible. Like I can only stay head above water for like 15 seconds while just holding my hands in the air, let alone. So it was kind of at that point I realized that I don't have the training necessary to be like an intense water polo player. Like they're on a different level. Like those guys are really good athletes is what I'm saying.
Okay, but you can make it 15 seconds. Come on, 15 seconds.
To what?
Tread water for 15 seconds?
With my hands above my head out of the water?
That seems kind of hard.
I'm telling you right now, Mike, the next time you come to my house, I'm going to have you tread water with your hands above your head. You're not going to make it 3 seconds, and you're going to be like, why is this so hard?
Well, I didn't know the hands above your head.
You're tired, and somebody just jumps on you and pushes you underwater. Now you're like trying to get up. It's like, screw that.
Yeah. Just put me through a whole Olympic swimming test, Tony, and see how I do.
It's but yeah, water polo is one of those things where it's like I never think about it, and then when the Olympics come on, I'll be scrolling by like, ooh, water polo, and I'll sit there for like an hour and a half and watch an event that I don't think about until 4 years go by. So
what about this one? What about ping pong?
Ping pong's fun too, but like sometimes it starts to get a little too just like repeat, like I don't know, because they're just too perfect. It's just like there's not enough variation to it.
No, when Forrest Gump was in it, he was pretty good.
He's the GOAT. I mean, they probably should have retired the event when Forrest Gump was done.
Let me guess, Mike, you didn't see that movie either.
What movie?
Oh my gosh, Mike. Next question.
Wait. Don't move on yet. What about football coming to the Olympics? Like, are they going to just send our best players? Or are we going to see like we see in the NBA where NFL players are going to play football? Or is it going to be like the college players? Like, what do you guys think about football joining the Olympics in 4 years? Flag football, yes. And who is playing in these games? I'm sure it'll be male and female. But for the males, like, are we putting our NFL stars in there? Can you imagine that lineup?
Absolutely not. In 4 years, Justin Jefferson's going to be re-upping a contract. And he's like, oh, Joe Burrow and me, we want to go play, and Jamar Chase, we want to reassemble the LSU dynasty. That's, roughly $180 million on the field and a lot for the Bengals. There's no way that they're letting those guys go out there and risk an injury. It's not going to happen. They're not going to put an asset in an Olympic game that's costing that much money, because the NFL is completely different from the NBA in that aspect, where they like encourage these guys to go out there. Now, maybe if we get rolled a couple of times, they'll switch it up. But for right now, like the first time, it's just going to be those athletes. What's going on, Albert? How are you?
What are you thinking, Tony? Maybe it's some of like the backup guys, or are we throwing the UFL guys out there? Like,
I think you might get it, but there's really good flag football players out there. We just don't know who they are. There's actually I saw a promo, the flag football world championship is like this weekend or something.
Oh, I should probably tune into that.
We should tune in and find out how the Americans are doing, because I've heard that Canada is pretty good, and there's a couple other teams that are pretty good at flag football.
We can't lose. We cannot lose. They should just send one. They should just send Tyreek Hill. Like, okay, we're just gonna do this.
Tyreek Hill is gonna be how old, Mike?
34 or something.
But now, see, those guys.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, those guys that just retired or are on the verge of retiring and might want a chance to compete, let's not get it twisted. Terrell Owens is going to make a bid to be on that team. You know that he's going to be out there saying, I want to play on the flag football team. He's going to campaign to try and be on that squad.
That's what I was about to say. What about the guys that are retired? And it's y'all don't need to play tackle football anymore anyways, but you still got the skill set to go out there. Here's some endorsements. Here's some sponsorships. Here's some TV time to build your brand even a little bit more and represent your country. Get out there, 35-year-old cheetah, and let's still dust these fools. I feel like at 45 he'll dust people.
Well, didn't Michael Vick just do it? Didn't they just have a league, a $1 million league or whatever it was?
Oh yeah.
Had some teams that had ex-pros, some people that had Joes, and Michael Vick was the leader of one of those teams. You're going to tell me that Michael Vick can't go out there and still perform better than half these guys on half these quarterbacks? I'll take some of these guys. If it's a clean pocket where nobody's rushing, I don't know the rules, but maybe there's a delayed blitz or something. You're going to tell me that Tom Brady can't be out there slinging it, Tony?
But I get it. He's a broadcaster. He can broadcast a game with a torn ACL. Joe Burrow has trouble staying healthy in the offseason. He can't go play on that team. As a Chargers fan, I don't want Herbert out there scrambling to the left and trying to make plays. And because that's the thing is competitors, and Mike even sent this to us in a video. They're playing a flag snatch game. CeeDee Lamb and Justin Herbert are playing with young people, and Herbert is just snatching the flag from these young kids. And then every time he's I'm sorry. It's he's programmed inside of him. It doesn't matter what he's doing. He cannot lose. So if he's over there and he's in competing in high tense situations, preparing for this and then playing in games, that takes away from what we need our star players to be doing, which is sort of decelerating the amount of competition that they're in. Still need to be working out and training, and we're going to get those videos because everybody needs them for their social media brands. But they have to be in a mode at some point where they're kind of idling or in second or third gear training. They can't be over there competing for their country, all revved up, ready to go year round.
But this would be training. 4 years from now, the NFL would be nothing but flag football, right? Aren't we transitioning from a hard-hitting league to a flag football league right now? You can't even play defense in the National Football League right now without getting a flag called on you. So this is just a precursor to taking everybody to flag football. Hey, we'll put it in the Olympics, and 2 years later, it's everywhere.
This was a theory I had, Joe. This is a theory I had. I made a conspiracy video almost immediately upon hearing the announcement of flag football. And I think they announced the hip drop tackle and officially flag football joining the Olympics in the same week. Where it was hey, we're banning tackling around the legs, and we're also joining the Olympics with flag football to make this more global. I had that conspiracy too, Joe, where I was thinking right away, oh, look at this. Perfectly. In 4 years, we're going to see tackle is football, and it's going to be entertaining. Trust me, because there's going to be high stakes on the line. There's going to be medals. You're going to be so, the way you back your NFL team, the entire country is going to be backing the USA team. There's going to be a lot on the line. It's going to get intense. It's going to be entertaining. And is it going to influence the league to start looking into it? Hey, what if we started to do this too?
Is there a world in which flag football can become super popular and be an off-season, an NFL off-season sport that they play sort of in the spring and summer? Is that the alternate league instead of having a USFL or whatever they're calling it now? Instead of having that league be the secondary league, it could be a flag football situation in 20 years from now where my kids are excited about this and playing a fantasy football version for flag football. But the thing that we love about the NFL is the physical dominance that these guys are going through to get what they want done, right? When we get to watch human beings impose their will on somebody else, you don't get to see that in flag football. It can be speed and athleticism, but the actual physical dominance, like that's what we are attracted to, is like that sort of just running through 700 pounds of human being, right? Watching Dexter Lawrence take on a triple team, you can't get that in flag football. So that's how it's going to go.
Or Odell Beckham Jr. doing a nice, sick one-handed catch, but with flags instead of. I'm not advocating for flag football. I'm with you 100%, Tony. I'm just trying to think from the perspective of the league, and it just feels like we've been taking baby steps towards eliminating contact. I don't want it to happen. I think that the rules are good. I feel like that the hip drop tackle ban has already a step too far in trying to bring down the contact. So I agree with you, Tony. I would much rather watch tackle football. I'm just trying to think in the perspective of the NFL, if they're going to use the Olympics over, a couple decades to kind of like test fan interaction and interest, and if this is even possible. But what would you rather see in the future, Tony, or Joe too? Would you rather see us making this more like virtual reality to make it more safe, or taking the pads off to make it more safe? Like, what is football going to be in 25 years or 30 years or 50 years? I know you guys don't have to worry about it because, you're both already like 65, but
they're not all they're doing is protecting assets. Because your generation is so obsessed with offense and can appreciate. You guys will see a game where it's like 13-10, and the first text message I get from Mike is, "This is boring as shit." And I'm like, these defenses are actually playing incredible football. The only time young people appreciate good defense is when their expectation of a great quarterback is denied. And then they go, "Oh man, it was just good defense." But if you just watch two football teams play and good defense is being played, this generation thinks that it's shitty football. And that's not always the case. Sometimes, yes, it's sloppy, bad. You get bad teams, but nobody appreciates the nuance of football like they used to. They want the excitement. Like that's the that's what happened to baseball. And the NFL is trying to evolve to the point where that's what it's about. Like the whole juiced era for me and Joe's generation, they ran a campaign that said chicks dig the long ball because they were like, we just need to talk about the home run. It was like pitchers like Greg Maddux were being phased out because the guy could throw 85 and could dot the corner. But now you're letting this guy, take juice and he can hit the ball. You give Barry Bonds that pitch. He's so locked in and so jacked up on whatever creams and clears or whatever they were talking about. He's hitting the ball 480 feet into the bay. So those pitchers just got phased out. And now we're starting to see some of those guys come back that can still survive in Major League Baseball by having a little more precision. But that's not fun. Strikeouts aren't fun. Home runs are fun.
The NFL did the same thing, Tony, when we were younger. The NFL just a couple of years ago made their money off of these big hit posters when somebody's going across the middle and gets laid out. Like that's where the NFL was making their money. And then they went away from it. Like, I don't know what it is. Like if you said it, it's the newer generation. Like I think it is. Everybody wants this. You don't want to sit there, Tony, and watch a 3-0 game. I watched that last year with the Raiders and the Vikings, and it was fucking horrible. It was horrible. Like I had to take a nap halfway through. Like I felt like you on a Sunday afternoon, Tony, just sleeping. Like that's how bad it was. But I understand there's good defensive games. There is good defensive games, but most of us would prefer the 56-43 games or anything like that.
I think that was more of a bad offensive game than a good defensive game there, Joe.
Either way,
Vikings and Raiders. It's like the Patriots Chargers too. They had a similar game with the Patriots last year.
Yeah,
the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl. Patriots versus the Rams. Good defense
or bad offense. What do you?
A boring ass game.
What do you call it? What you guys are talking about? My generation loves good defense as long as the team playing defense is wearing baby blue. We're in on defense.
So you never experienced a good defense.
That's hilarious.
Not in a while.
They did it.
In a while.
Joe, we did experience good defense a few years ago, and we still didn't make the playoffs. Number one defense in the league, number one offense in the league, 8-8. Sounds just about right on pace.
Worst special teams unit of all time.
I would like to say this. If we did, if the NFL would allow us to do a watch along and we rewatch the Super Bowl between the Rams and the Patriots, the Jared Goff, Tom Brady Super Bowl. If we really rewatched it, it's not nearly as boring as we thought that it was, as much as there's about 4 or 5 plays to Brandon Cooks in that game that Jared Goff has, where if he just hits one of them, it's a different game. So it's like, there's a little bit of that. A few years ago when the Chiefs won their first Super Bowl and everybody's like, oh, this Super Bowl is shit. This isn't any good. Like Patrick. And then the Chiefs scored 21 points in the final 6 minutes of the game and rout the Niners. It's like, there's good games. There's good things happening. There's no way you get to the top of the mountain and then it's not good football. I disagree with that thought.
I remember that game too, Tony, and I was sitting there and everyone in the room was thinking the Niners already had won it. And I'm like, guys, you have not been watching these motherfuckers all year. They did that all year. They went down 10, and would just blow people out after. Almost like they needed to be down and they would just turn it on. And that Chiefs team was unstoppable. They were unstoppable.
Like Patrick Mahomes is locked in, huh?
50 tubs.
Nothing distracted him. He's right there.
I was debating whether or not to use that as a transition to talk about the first topic that we want to talk about, but I'm not going to because I'm going to say this, and we can stay on Patrick Mahomes, so it will actually eventually work out. I don't know why I'm talking. I should just end this podcast now.
You are the host.
That was the run to the Super Bowl where they were down 14 or whatever to the Titans, 24 to the Texans. That was one of the most incredible runs ever. And then in the Super Bowl, again, down 10 with 10 minutes to play, they got the ball back, finally scored with 6 minutes and then scored 2 more times in the final 6 minutes. It was absolutely nuts. But Patrick Mahomes, is he going to be able to have that same ability, that same, focus, attention to detail now that the report he himself reported, he told on himself because he didn't want anybody to find out and for it to become a story. Patrick Mahomes has a TV at training camp. And I want to know, is this a big deal, no deal, or do haters like myself and Mike and Joe, who just want the Chiefs to lose, do we just get to hang on to this one little thing, hoping that this is going to distract the Chiefs just enough? Joe, let's start with you.
What do you mean? He brought a TV with him to training camp, in his room?
Yeah, because he wants to be able to play college football and he wants to be able to watch the Olympics while he's at training camp. And he's never had that personal TV that he brought to training. Some of these guys
because players do it all the time, right? You see it all the time where they're in their room and then they have their little break. They're playing video games. They're doing whatever they need to do. But you're saying a superstar like Patrick Mahomes, who's never done it, is actually going to do it. But okay, so here's a good conversation because I was talking about Patrick Mahomes the other day with one of my friends, and Patrick Mahomes has done a lot this offseason. He's the executive producer of, I don't know if you guys saw that on Receivers, on that show Receivers. He owns part of the Kansas City Royals. There's a lot of other things that he's doing outside of it. So do I think he's a little distracted? Yes, but I saw the same thing. I'm seeing the same thing with Travis Kelce where he's going on tour with Taylor Swift. I think these guys are so much professionals that they need something to do in their offseason that they're getting their head away from football. But once they get into there and into their rhythm, I don't think there's any stopping Patrick Mahomes. Now, I do think the only way that this stops Patrick Mahomes is not his play now, but this will stop him from playing a career like Tom Brady, a 20-year career, where Patrick Mahomes in a couple of years will be like, look, I've done everything I need to do. Now I have all these other aspects that I want to do. That's where I see it stopping him. But actually, look at Patrick Mahomes compared to everybody else. His body is not yoked out. He's not a yoked guy. He looks like he has the dad bod and he goes out there and he's the number one quarterback. If you looked at Patrick Mahomes without a shirt on, you're not going to be like, that's our top guy. That's our top athlete. No, you look at a guy like DK Metcalf and you're like, oh shit, that's our guy. Patrick Mahomes has always been that. He's never been. I hope every day that I turn on and I read something in the news that I hope for the downfall of the Chiefs, but Come on. Like, for us to put doubt in Patrick Mahomes for a TV, it ain't happening. Ain't happening.
Mike, speak to the people. Let everybody know what the truth is about the TV.
Well, unfortunately, Tony, I don't know the truth, but I could tell you what I hope. I hope that Joe's completely wrong or right. Either he's completely wrong and this video game playing leads to a first-round exit at the end of this year because they were distracted, in freaking July for some reason, playing college football when the game had just released. Somehow it affects their play in January. But maybe I should just stop rooting against Mahomes, and I should stop being such a Mahomes hater. I should go down the road that Joe's going here. Joe's basically saying, like, let's just let him win as much as he possibly can. Let's just let him win for the next 3 straight years. At a certain point, he's just going to get so tired of winning that he'll just quit and go and win at something else. And he'll just go do something else. So that way we all can have a break from this motherfucker. And we don't have to worry about stories like this anymore. We can just go back to our usual programming of wondering whether Joe Burrow's ankle's fine or Dak Prescott's getting paid or all the other stuff instead of Patrick Mahomes bringing TVs into the office. Me personally, though, I will say with my buddies, and this is no shot to my buddies, I don't play video games. I don't do anything, to be honest. But I don't play video games. I don't understand the appeal of video games to a point that you need to bring it to work with you, even though, we all kind of do it with technology and phones and stuff nowadays. So I just don't see the appeal in wanting to have video games in there. Like, you taking a break from football to go play a football video game? Like, why don't you go to dinner or go to a movie or do something relaxing that has nothing to do with football?
He has to recruit, Mike. NCAA football, he's out there recruiting all these high school players to come to his little college and play so he can win a national championship. He has to get these 5-star recruits.
Yeah. He couldn't win the national title when he actually was in college. His team wasn't even good. So he's like, oh, I need to rerun this back. Cliff kind of ruined my entire college career, and I want it to be like my NFL career.
Oh, man. I was really hoping you guys would rail against this because there's a little part of me that says, like, if you really look at, like, the greatest of the greats, it almost doesn't really matter. Like, you ever see the stories of, like, what Michael Jordan used to do was, like, he'd have an off day in a playoff game, and he'd fly somewhere to go play golf. He'd play 36 holes of golf. He'd drink. He'd smoke cigars. And then he'd come back the next day and put 45 on him. And they're like, wait, why wouldn't you rest and recuperate? That was his way of resting and recuperating, was getting out and just playing golf and smoking cigars and gambling, which is fine. Maybe could have potentially been even better had he been locked in the way some of these other guys are. My whole thing is, like, you're such a creature of habit when you're that great. When you're Mahomes level, when you're Brady level, you are on a different wavelength that everybody else is on. So if there's little tiny differences, which could be as much as maybe he spends a little less time talking to Andy Reid about plays, maybe there's, like a little less bonding with all of your teammates, stuff like that, because he's locked in on really building up the Texas Tech franchise. And maybe that's the little itty bitty ounce, the little edge that we need for him to be off a couple of games at the beginning of the season. And maybe that means that they don't get home playoff games. Like, it's the margins are so slim. All we need is a tiny little bit of hope.
True.
That it'll throw him off. Because this idea that you two are like, whoa, we just hope he wins a bunch and then retires. Fuck that noise. I do not want to watch the Chiefs win 3 in a row. I do not want to watch the internet tell me that he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Because you guys know I have a huge issue with this. I don't like how we just bury the greats as soon as they retire. Tom Brady, the body's not even cold yet. And it's already like, well, Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. It's like, what happened?
First of all, I put it on record that I did not say that I wanted to see Patrick Mahomes win another one. I did not say that. Mike said that.
No. I didn't say that either at all. I was saying that I was agreeing with Joe that maybe we can look at
Mike,
this.
You said it. I did not say it. You were like, you let Patrick win the next 3 years and get out of it.
Idea. It was all you. I don't want to get looped in on any kind of Patrick Mahomes support here. You said that maybe he just wins a few more years or wins for the next 5 years, and then walks away because he's won so much. He could go do Kansas City Royals ownership shit, whatever the fuck that means, and go and do that, right? And then I second that and said, yeah, maybe Joe's right. Maybe we could look at this as a win-win, even if he doesn't get distracted by this. That's exactly the take. But going back to it, you are right, Tony. It does come down to like just a minute few plays, even in the Super Bowls that he's won so far. So hopefully this is that one play, that one break, because I'll tell you, Jim Harbaugh, he has only been football. There has been zero distractions. Like when me and Joe went to Vegas for, I think it was for the Super Bowl, maybe. Antonio Pierce was out there doing like fan appearances and doing all this stuff, probably, raising funds so he could pay for his $30 million in debt that he's in right now, doing all that kind of stuff while news was breaking that Jim Harbaugh was moving into an RV at the facility in LA. So there's different breeds here. There's different levels of dedication, and Mahomes just isn't quite on that level.
Well, Jim Harbaugh wears diapers and Antonio Pierce doesn't. So there's a big difference too. So I don't know what.
You know why he wears diapers, Joe? Because he needs to stay focused. He needs to stay locked in. If he's in the middle of a film study and he needs to go number 2, you can't just get up and leave the computer. You can't take the computer with you.
Let me tell you this about that TV. I play video games. I sit there and do nothing else. Like, it's going to work out perfect for Patrick Mahomes. Like,
you're an elite athlete.
Patrick Mahomes, just go, relax. Don't worry about the kids. Play your video games, eat your potato chips, and win your championships and get those 5-star recruits, because that's going to work out great. I mean,
exactly. I think this is going to work out too. And I think his wife is expecting another.
Yeah.
Oh man,
well,
it's been working. I've been like doing like a little like ritual, or I spin around 3 times, do a handstand every time Mahomes gets pregnant to make sure that it's not a son. Like, just don't birth a man, don't birth a boy, don't birth an heir to this.
Yeah, because that's when I know I'm really old, when they're Patrick Mahomes Jr.
Well, he's already the 3rd, so we're dealing with Patrick Mahomes the fucking 4th in the NFL. No. Let's have all girls, girl dad. That's the way to go.
Well, it would be so hard to replicate what his dad's done. Like all of these guys that are like super great, I don't necessarily think that the next generation gets locked in at the same position. Quarterback too, like the amount of time and effort and work and everything. And also, like, there's some good fortune in it. Like, I think that we talked about it a lot when I was younger, where it was like, oh, look, Tom Brady landed with Bill Belichick. And then all of a sudden the narrative flipped at some point and was like, Bill Belichick could never win without Tom Brady. I think that landing up in a marriage of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes that's what it is. Like, when you get 2 people who are really great at what they do, that's the combination that every fan hopes for their franchise. You want elite this and elite that, and now the rest of the team just raises up with everybody else.
So the Saints are the ones that always get talked about. Like, they were the next one on the clock, and Sean Payton swears that he was going to take Patrick Mahomes. Do you think they would have had the same success, Sean Payton and Patrick Mahomes?
I don't know that, but I think it would have been similar. Like, I think if you would have given a player of that caliber, my thing is this. These guys don't waste any time. If they identify a guy as a guy, like, you're moving up to go get him. So this idea that Sean Payton was like, oh, we were going to draft him. It's like, then, and you thought that he could be really great in your system. Like, why wouldn't you just give that little bit extra? Like, I was listening to a podcast today, and they brought up a really great point about how college football and so many lives would have been different had Drew Brees just been medically cleared to go to Miami and not New Orleans. And then Sean Payton's career might be a little bit different. And then think about all the guys that came through Alabama. Now, I still believe that the Julio Jones, just all of the talent that we've gotten out of there, right? The Calvin Ridleys, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henrys. I still think these guys would have found their way to get to the NFL and be great. But the actual the domination, the dynasty that he built in Alabama probably doesn't get built if Urban Meyer gets Drew Brees to be able to come to the Dolphins and not there. Like, it's Nick
Saban.
Yeah, if Nick Saban gets him to go there. with Sean Payton, we're looking at a situation where it's like, yeah, if he gets the quarterback right, and that's why I think that the Broncos are going to be decent in a couple of years with Bo Nix, because he's just going to do what Sean Payton asks him to do. And Sean Payton has proven that he can win with average quarterback play. Can Bo Nix elevate to a level of where Drew Brees was at when they were competing, in real, contenders for the Super Bowl? I don't know if he gets to that level, but the Broncos got a guy where they're going to be good in a couple of years. And that's shitty for us, but they're going to be good. Like, everybody's hating on Bo Nix. It's like Sean Payton's going to get the most out of him.
I'm hoping that Sean Payton gets frustrated with his early rookie mistakes because he's impatient. He knows the team's paying him all this money to turn this shit around today. That's what my kind of hope is. But we'll see how it goes. I agree with you though, Tony. I think if he gets Mahomes, I mean, he got a quarterback. He got a guy. He got a Hall of Fame level guy, and he won a Super Bowl. So I would believe that it would have happened in New Orleans. They still had a good team too in that time period. They had
the bad luck too against the Rams. I think it was 2019 or whatever, where it's that
was probably that year, the year before. That was Mahomes' rookie year probably.
I think that was the year the Rams went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots, I believe. So it's that season works out differently for them. Maybe they're competing in a few more, and they did have some bad bounces, right? And that's a lot of times what it is. When you have great quarterbacks, usually more bounces tend to go in your favor than against you, and then we always, as fans, we blame that shit on the refs. We don't give credit to all the work they've put in and all the detail, all the grinding. But I think I sent a message to you guys where I was listening to Lombardi on Pat McAfee, and he was talking about building franchises. And it's you're building a team, and some of these organizations really are good at identifying what players are going to be good organizationally, are going to be good for the 53-man roster, and putting together, here's what it is. Think about how many times the Patriots morphed their identity. Oh, we're a run team. Oh, we're a short passing team. Oh, we're going to be a defensive team that runs, that leans on them, tries to find ways to play field position to get our defense into opportunistic, positions like that. The Patriots, you could even say their defense morphed on a week-to-week basis many of the years because they were so good. You got to be able to have strong identity at the top to be able to maneuver around like that. So I think that all of these guys that are at that certain level, they're going to win no matter what. That's why I'm excited about Harbaugh, because I think that this is this only results in one way for the Chargers over the next 7, 8, 10 years is a lot of winning. And it's going to be a ton of fun for us.
Hopefully we get luckier than those.
Nobody. There you go, Joe. I know you're waiting for that. I can't wait till week 1 when they're just yelling that shit back and forth at the Raiders fans, yelling all that Raiders nonsense at SoFi. Chargers fans are just yelling,
shoving Pop-Tarts in your mouth.
We finally have a chance. Y'all keep acting like the Pop-Tart thing is y'all's. You're stealing the Pop-Tart thing at this point from us.
What the fuck is this? All right. You guys ready to talk about the list a little bit?
Yeah. I didn't even see the list, though. So I don't know if there's somewhere where we can pull it up.
Yeah, I sent you guys a link in the show rundown. So I would just probably scroll to your iPhone and pull it up there. So it's actually pretty standard. It's Tyreek Hill, Trent Williams, Chris Jones, Dak Prescott. Dak was the first one where I was like, maybe that's a little high. Let's see who's down the list. Matthew Stafford at 4 and 5. Davante Adams. George Kittle at 7. Lane Johnson at 8. Now I'm like, wait, how old? This? I'm like, this writer knows Travis Kelce is in his 30s, right? Because I'm just sitting there. I'm reading through this list.
Wait. Kelce's not 1?
Kelce's number 10.
I meant Mike, I'm at number 8, Lane Johnson. And these are all great players, right? I could easily make an argument that would say that Trent Williams should be number 1 on this list. Trent Williams, Tyreek Hill. But I'm scrolling through and I'm like, where's Travis Kelce? Lane Johnson. Then I get to Laramie Tunsil and I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? Number 10, Travis Kelce. And I was like, what did I miss? Legit, what did I miss? I understand that Travis Kelce had a down season statistically last year in the regular season, didn't hit 1,000 yards. He still had like 998 yards or whatever it was. Like he was really on the cusp of going 7 straight seasons of 1,000+ yards. But then when it was time to make that money, what'd he do? Playoffs start, and he's right back out there being the Magic Man and dominating and all of those great things. How is he behind Laramie Tunsil? I get if you want to give the quarterback little inflation bump, I get it. I'm fine with it. There you go. Thank you, Mike. You want to have this like quarterback inflation bump? I'm okay with it. But not in the top 5, not in the top 10, whatever. Like, or I mean, not like he's number 10. That doesn't equate for me. I can't really get.
I'm cool with Cheetah at 1. That's okay. But I agree with you with the Travis Kelce sentiment.
Yeah, all I'm saying is I can make an argument.
See where your boy's at.
This guy was a key player. You talking about Keenan Allen?
No.
This guy, Kelce, is a key player on a dynasty actively.
Yes,
as we speak.
And so
look,
like
Tyreek Hill, I'm okay with Tyreek. If you want to say Tyreek Hill because of the speed and everything that he does for the Miami Dolphins, cool. I'm good with that. Go down, Mike. Number 2, Trent Williams, dominant on an offense. Cool. I'm good with that. Chris Jones, we saw what he did. I'm good with that.
See, this is where I have a huge problem with the Kelce thing, because who contributes? No offense to Chris Jones, but who contributes to their team's success more than Travis Kelce? Patrick Mahomes is the only one on the team, but Chris Jones is ranked this many slots higher than him.
And that's a little bit of my issue too, where it's like, what is maybe I should have read the article in detail to see like if there was a certain criteria or whatever. But like Chris Jones is the number 1 interior defensive guy. And again, I can make an argument for Chris Jones being ahead of Travis Kelce, but I just don't like the idea that like George Kittle is ahead of him, that Lane Johnson is ahead of him. Again, really great players, like extremely great. Lane Johnson is indispensable. All these guys are really great players for the most part. I mean, I don't know if I'd say really great for Dak, but really, really, really good. I don't like him being ahead of Travis Kelce.
I don't even like this.
Dak.
I don't even like Dak. I don't even like Dak ahead of Matthew Stafford.
I don't like that either.
I don't like Dak ahead of. I don't think any of the names that are about to come up. I don't like Dak. I'm a Dak fan that doesn't like Dak. I don't like Dak ahead of Keenan Allen and Khalil Mack. I don't like Dak ahead of either one.
I want to see your reaction.
Or Aaron Rodgers. And like Stafford, okay. Davante Adams is up here. Like, I don't see how you could say that Travis Kelce's lower than Davante Adams at this point in time. Same thing. I mean, who's the best tight end in the NFL right now? Lane Johnson.
It's just weird because I wouldn't think of Lane Johnson, but okay.
Buckner's a really underrated guy. But again, we're talking about Mike Evans. Mike Evans had 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons. That's not enough to get in the top 10?
No.
He had 10 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
10 straight. It's not enough either. Could have gone for 20 straight.
There's
Khalil
still
and Keenan are right next to each other. Kirk Cousins is at 15. Like, Kirk Cousins should be over Dak.
Okay. Wait, Mike. You're almost there.
Yeah, this is crazy. Derrick Henry at 16. I don't know how they came up with this.
Aaron Rodgers.
I don't even know how they came up with this list. Stephon Diggs at 18. It's like this is a reverse list, huh? Like it's reverse order.
How are you glossing over the fact that Aaron Rodgers is 17 on the list? Like,
I'm not glossing over it. I think that the whole list is discredited before we got here. Before we even got here.
Do you drop Aaron Rodgers because of his injury? Yes. Or maybe there's another list out there of 40 and older, and Aaron Rodgers is at the top of that list. I don't know. But okay, you're going to drop Aaron Rodgers a little bit because he didn't play last season. But you're not going to drop him to number 17. Not a 3-time what? 4-time what is he? 3-time MVP?
4-time MVP. He's 2 of the last 4 still right now.
I counted 3 times because one of them was bullshit. But anyways,
I think if you're making if I'll just do it in my version. If I was making this list, the way that I would do it is I would say, like, where do these players over 30 rank at their position? But then on top of that, what is the significance of their positional value? So every quarterback's going to get a little bit of a bump of where it is. Where do I think this quarter can play at their max potential this year? And if I think Aaron Rodgers is still suiting up and could still play football, I think he can still be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So how do you put him at number 17 with what his apex ability could be this season? Like, how is he behind all of these other guys on this list if you're factoring in the importance of the position and where he could be if he's healthy this season? Like, I get that there's even an age gap. Like, maybe, again, I could be overreacting to this list and I just didn't read it close enough. Like, maybe this is based on who you'd rather have for a 3-year period.
The Dak
might go down. Might go all the way down.
Yeah, you got to keep going down through the list. There's some.
This is the top 30 over 30 entering 2024 season. So he's talking about the best players that are over 30 years old right now, and he has Dak as the 4th best player in the NFL right now, over 30 years old.
And that's the thing where I was just like, I don't understand the rationale for that. And would Dak probably still be in my top 10? Yes, because of the positional value. Like, of what Dak can be. Like, Stafford, Rodgers, and Dak are all capable of having
right there, Mike.
It's crazy. I see what he basically was like, if you weren't great last year or you were injured last year, you're getting tanked in these rankings. You're done. So, because like Keenan Allen's way down there, Cooper Kupp's way down there, Aaron Rodgers is way down there.
I saw a stat where it was like Cam Hayward has had 3 of his best seasons in the last 4 years. Like, since Cam Hayward turned 30, he's become an even more dominant football player. And it's like impossible to do that.
Yeah, but he doesn't even get a shout out. Where was he at, like 20 something, 25?
Who?
DJ Reader.
Zach Martin's probably too low too.
I think Zach Martin was up
23.
higher. Cam
Zach Martin's 29.
Oh, yeah.
Keep going just a little bit, Mike.
Also injured last year. That's it right there.
Right there. Look, Justin Tucker as an honorable mention.
Justin Tucker. How about DeAndre Hopkins? Like, can we go back up to the bottom of the list there? Can we scroll back up for a second? He couldn't get ahead of DJ Reader or I'm a big
Joel Bitonio
or Joe Thuney. Like, I don't know. I watched DeAndre Hopkins last year playing an offense where he was the only guy in the offense, really, and was pretty good. I think now that he's got some other people to focus in on, he can.
Tony, even Bobby Wagner, like at his age, still getting 100 tackles a season. Like, he's not above anybody else up there.
Yeah,
I know he's a kicker, but you put the best kicker maybe in NFL history outside the top 30 players.
A couple other players on here that I was like annoyed that didn't get mentioned was like Levante David. All the guy does is dominate. He put together.
He was on here.
Oh, was he? And I missed. Okay, 27. Good. What about another guy, Demario Davis?
He's
up there.
He's on the list too.
No, he's up there. Go up.
He's better. He's a better player right now than Cooper Kupp, apparently.
Okay. All right. I take it back. This
is a great list now.
Not a great list, but at least he included some of these guys where I was like scrolling through when I'm looking at this list. When I got to Aaron Rodgers at 17, I was like, we're talking about this on the show tomorrow. I got to send this because I just don't get it. My list would have been completely different. Now, I didn't sit down and pour through all the guys that are over 30, but like it was
this is crazy.
Definitely a good conversation starter.
This is crazy. The Dak Prescott one, that's the craziest one. And I will defend Dak being on this list, but you could argue him being in the 20s and they have him at 4.
Where's Mr. Unlimited at, huh? That's what I need to know.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that.
Unlimited
On the list.
And we joke about that, but he actually had a decent season last year. Statistically, if you look at it, it was a pretty good season. Like everybody likes to make fun of him, like he's done for, and we're gonna get into that when we start getting to our divisional predictions and all that stuff. But
well, if he puts up the same year this year, he'll outperform his contract by a mile.
He just has to show up and play 17 games, and he's gonna outperform that, making the vet minimum. So like
playing for free out there.
Yeah, from a Broncos standpoint, there's no recovering from it. But from the Steelers, he outperforms it if he's just giving advice to Justin Fields. Like they're paying him like $1.25 million. Like that's like
they have paid Chase Daniel more to just give advice.
There are people taking bigger withdrawals from their 401k than his salary this season. Like it's.
So that was ESPN, right? That was ESPN's 30 players over 30, top 30 of 30 players over 30 or whatever, right? I found one of PFF, and it's kind of similar, but PFF goes Trent Williams number 1, Tyreek Hill number 2, and Chris Jones. So the top 3 are the same, and like we said, you can mix the top 3 as whatever you want. Their number 4, Tony, George Kittle. Number 5, Matthew Stafford. Number 6, Lane Johnson. 7, Travis Kelce. 8, Kirk Cousins. 9, Davante Adams. And 10, Derrick Henry is where they have that. So there's a little different. They have Hayward at 11, Khalil Mack at 12, Lunso at 13, Demario Davis at 14, Bobby Wagner at 15. So somebody who wasn't even mentioned in the ESPN one at 15.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers isn't on there yet, is he?
Aaron Rodgers, they dropped Dak Prescott went to 18. They put Zadarius Smith on there that wasn't on that list. Let's see. Aaron Rodgers is 24, and it says because they have no idea who he's going to be coming off the Achilles injury. Is what they're saying in there.
So, yeah, I mean,
maybe he's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
But they broke it down that this is going into this season, like top 30 players over the age of 30 going into the season, like what their expectations going into the season.
Was Kirk on that one? Was Kirk Cousins on that one? Because everyone,
he was in the
Aaron Rodgers can't come back from the Achilles, but Kirk Cousins, who's 2 years younger,
he's number 8.
They're not worried about his Achilles at all. His Achilles is fine.
And he injured his later in the season. Like he's had less time to recover from this, and he's number 8. Okay, cool. And this is coming from somebody who has a strong love-hate relationship with Aaron Rodgers. Like
just hate. It ain't love.
No, that's not. Here's the thing. Not fair. Aaron Rodgers.
You love to hate him. That's the only love-hate about it.
Aaron Rodgers is the human being, the individual. I don't really have a feeling on that either way. I have all of it. He is my villain. There's those guys that fall in that, like Tom Brady. I hated on Tom Brady for years, but I love the entertainment value that guys like Rodgers and Brady bring to the NFL for me. Like it's fun for me to have those villains in my narrative of what the NFL is. So like all I'm saying is that I've fallen a lot more on the hate side, the hater side of it, than I have on the other side. And I'm looking at this list going, this is crazy insane to me.
Yeah, where would you rank Rodgers, Tony? At least in the top 10.
Yeah, I think I would probably have Rodgers at 10 if I was like going, just like a rough list for me would be, I think it's probably Trent Williams because of what he does for the run game, what he does for Brock Purdy, Tyreek Hill, Chris Jones at 3 or 4 in that area there. And then not far after that is going to be in some fashion like Travis Kelce, Matthew Stafford, Lane Johnson, maybe a little bit later, like in there.
Where's Dak falling on this?
Dak's probably going to be like 12-ish on my list. Like if I just took those 30 players and reordered them, Dak would be, and not 4, he'd be probably like 12 on my list.
So your whole list is trash.
We should make our own list.
I'm sure.
That's what I'm hearing.
I'm sure if we did make our own lists, people would be just as like shouty about us. Maybe not as many people, Because I'm sure that if we went to the internet and we just looked for what the comments were on this, it would be very unkind to whoever this writer is. And he's just trying to.
Davante Adams should be number one no matter what.
I do want to start, especially when he gets traded back with Aaron Rodgers. I do want to start doing lists at the end of the shows instead of trivia. So maybe next week we'll set it up or something. We could do our top 5 or top 10.
Yeah, we used to have lists all the time. I want to update my coaches I'd love to play for list because
let's do lists.
I had Dan Campbell. I had Dan Campbell at number 3 or 4, and I want to bump up the list a little bit.
So next week we'll be listing a new list each week at the end of the show. Tune in. Top 3 candy bars.
I think that I might have to. No, I definitely do.
Top candy bars?
Sirianni.
Top 3 candy bars.
Oh, yeah. I would love to hear your candy bar because I bet it's nasty as hell.
Mine?
Yeah.
It's probably like an Almond Joy or something terrible.
Nah. I only really eat like Reese's Pieces if I want candy, but nothing else.
Yeah, I told you something nasty.
You're the most boring influencer I've ever met in my entire life.
Reese's Pieces are great.
I'm NFL Mike, and you're not eating Reese's Pieces.
Let's Joe gave us a good transition talking about Davante Adams because I sent them this quote, and just because Joe is a Raiders fan and Mike loves to hate on the Raiders, I thought it was funny that I'm going to bring up the quote so I can read it verbatim. He says, where is it? He says, damn it.
No pressure.
Davante Adams locked in with Raiders, but if he were to be reunited with anybody, it would be Aaron Rodgers. And in my mind, I'm like,
wow.
Why even put that out there? Like, there's no need to continue to dump fuel on that fire unless you really are hoping to be traded.
See, but nobody in the same interview, they brought up Tom Brady, and he was like, yeah, I'll play for him right now. He could be 58 years old, and I'll play with him.
And what about my guy, Derek Carr in New Orleans? Is he not an option for a reunion?
He doesn't want to go to the Saints. He knows
to go to the Saints.
I think what Davante Adams, the thing that I took from watching receiver is that Davante Adams wants to win a Super Bowl. He wants to have that end of the career Antonio Brown, go somewhere where he can. If you think about this really, if you put Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams on the field at the same time, right? That's a dynamic duo. You could make an argument that at some point in that season, Garrett Wilson would be the featured player at this point in their career. Like at some point you would start to build game plans around Garrett Wilson. On those teams, those Bucs teams, like there were weeks where Antonio Brown seemed to be a huge part of the game plan. And some weeks it was Godwin and some weeks it was Evans. But that's kind of what you need. All those years with the Packers, he was always there with like Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, James Jones. Like there was always that. Now, the Raiders, if they were a better franchise, would have focused on quarterback a little bit harder since they decided to just bail on a perfectly good starting quarterback who loved the organization. They have Jacoby Myers. They have 2 good pass-catching tight ends. Like, if you really look at the Raiders' offense, like, they've got pieces. So, Minshew needs the ball, or Aiden O'Connell needs to take a step forward, big time. I don't necessarily believe that either of those things are going to happen. So, what do you got? You got Davante Adams out here going, I am all about the Raiders, but if I want to play with Aaron, like I just read it, I was like, why? Randy
Moss came out the other day and he was like, Davante Adams needs to go chase the ring. He needs to chase the ring. Then I made a video about it. I was like, who the fuck is Randy Moss? Like, where's your ring, Randy Moss? You went chasing. He goes, it worked for me. I went chasing the ring. I don't see no goddamn ring on your finger. Nothing guarantees a ring. You can go, you could trade him to the Pack or to the Jets, and the Jets can go all the way, and then some 10-6 team beats their ass. Like to go to the Super Bowl. Like nothing guarantees you a ring, no matter where you go.
But you know what guarantees you won't win a ring?
Yeah, Joe, I mean, no, you're a Raiders
Are you on
fan.
the Chargers? Because I know you guys got a new facility with no trophy room. So I guess.
Well, I ain't advocating for Davante Adams to come to the Chargers. I'm advocating to go to a team that has a ring around the same time the Raiders won rings.
Now another funny rumor out there is that all these Niners all these people hate on the Raiders, and then Brandon Ayuk's like, I want to trade, and the Niners are like, Davante Adams for Brandon Ayuk. Like, this is what we need to touch on. Niner fans, wake the fuck up. Because when you trade Brandon Ayuk, you're not getting a big package back. You're not getting multiple first-round picks or a great player back. You're going to get an average player or somebody with potential and a third-round pick. That's what you're going to get. You're not breaking the bank for Brandon Ayuk. Nobody's doing that.
I would probably agree with that. I think if there was a player-for-player trade, that's pretty close, because while I don't think Brandon Ayuk is the same caliber player as Davante Adams, you have youth on your side there.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was some way that you could just give all the salary and not take any cap hit and whatever, I could see that being like about as fair as trade as you can get that like is realistic in those situations. Here's the complication with it, though. It still doesn't change the quarterback situation. And then Brandon Ayuk ends up in a situation where he's getting paid, and now he's frustrated.
Yeah, we're talking about it from the perspective of Davante Adams here. The Niners are in such a bad spot with Brandon Ayuk. They should have just signed him last offseason to something that they could get at a discount or something, because they're in such a bad spot where he wants CeeDee Lamb money, but it's just he's not CeeDee Lamb. It's just he's not that caliber of guy, at least not yet. In his career, hasn't gotten the opportunity to dominate on a 1,600-yard, 20-touchdown level. But the thing is from Davante Adams's perspective, I see what they're saying about ring chasing. All this guarantees, not guarantees. He knows that he needs a certain level of quarterback to even have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And right now, unless AOC wakes up tomorrow and is Tom Brady, I don't think he has that in Vegas. He has that wherewithal. So all of these cameras and stuff, these interviews, these podcasts, it's just in the back of his mind. Someone gets brought up, he slips, and he says something like, yeah, I would like to play with Aaron Rodgers again. Who's to say Aaron Rodgers doesn't come to the Raiders? Because if you look at the books and you look at the cap, the Jets technically can't afford Davante Adams. They're going to just have to make that work somehow.
Yeah, the Raiders have $35 million right now in salary cap. Like Mike said, it makes more sense. To trade Davante Adams, they'd have to take a $25 million dead salary cap, which they could afford. But to bring in somebody else, like if you did the Ayuk trade, now you got to sign him. So you're taking $25 million dead cap and then $30 million on top of that. It's not going to work out. But I brought this up a couple months ago, and you guys looked at me, and I felt like you guys told me like I was stupid and crazy. But this is it. This is right here. This is what I've been talking about. Receivers in the NFL are starting to become a dime a dozen, because all the 7-on-7 that kids are doing now that we've never seen before, the flag football, everything that people are starting at a young age. Flag football, I think, starts at 4 years old all the way up now. You're getting so many reps at the wide receiver position before you even make it to college or even play high school football. Receivers are like, we're seeing it every year now. It used to be where a receiver came in the first round of the draft and you were like, oh, we'll see how he comes. Year two, he'll be good. Now they're just dominating the league right off the bat, and we're seeing you're seeing receivers getting drafted third, fourth round that are just becoming the top receivers in the league. Like, I just think like I don't know how we can justify paying top receivers, like paying like Brandon Ayuk. Like, you're talking about paying him right now, and they just drafted a guy in the first round that they think is just as good as him, if not better. Like, I don't know. It's tough for me to talk about wide receivers now because there's so many of them, so many good ones out there.
Well, you know why I think it's unfolding that way, Joe, is because the rule changes. I really think it is because the way the game is going, the elite, dominant AJ Brown style wide receiver or Tyreek Hill style wide receiver, or, you know, fill in the blank dominant wide receiver, is the most coveted non-quarterback asset at this moment in time, and the most weaponized weapon on the field. Like, where there's some exceptions in the league of teams still running the ball and at an elite level. But we talk about wide receivers that deserve top of the market pay versus running backs. It's like 50-0. It's gotten bad.
Well,
your guys' team is doing it this year. Your guys' team is doing it this year. They're showing an elite quarterback should be able to do anything with average good wide receivers.
Well, they invested a borderline first round pick in a wide receiver too, but yeah.
Well, so a lot of teams are going this route, right? The Buffalo Bills are another team where it's like, hey, we're gonna take a chance on Curtis Samuel, Chase Claypool. I think they brought in somebody else too. It's like they've got, serviceable, smart, like good NFL football players, like good talent in the building, just not the ones that move the needle. And that's the thing that I keep talking to people about the Chargers. Everybody goes, who are they throwing the ball to? And I go, just because you don't have a Jefferson, Lamb, Chase type receiver doesn't mean that you have a terrible receiving core. It can work in the NFL, especially if you are designing and knowing the offense is like that. Would everybody love to have a game-changing wide receiver? Yeah, like you want that. But then you sacrifice other things. Because I keep looking at the Vikings roster, and every time I start to like make my little preliminary record prediction for them, I keep going, I can't have the Vikings at a five wins. Like, I just believe too much in Brian Flores. I think that they made some good, smart moves on defense, and they're going to have a good offense because I think Kevin O'Connell is a good coach. Like, Justin Jefferson tips, I keep looking at going, they're going to win at least 8 or 9 games this year. And part of that reason is because they have Justin Jefferson. Like, if they didn't have him and it was just Jordan Addison, which Jordan Addison, please stay out of trouble, man. Like, you're a fun player. We want to watch and root for you. If it was just him, though, it would be, my feeling would be different. But they have that person that is a game breaker that does tilt the scale in your favor, game plan wise, just from the opposing defense schematically, what they have to do to try and stop him.
Opens everyone else up too, yeah.
Hey, and here's
it's interesting to see the way these teams build, because the receiver position especially seems to be one now where they're trying to just collect as many guys as they can throughout their depth chart in the draft, in that. And then you're right, Tony, like you got that one premier game changer that's supposed to carry. But we've seen teams like the Chiefs do it with, rookie contract wide receivers, and the Eagles on their run, they had AJ Brown with Devonta Smith on his rookie contract. 49ers for the last couple of years, you're paying Kittle, Williams, Debo, but Ayuk's been on the rookie contract and he's been their leading receiver over the last 2 years. Like, I'm hoping that the Chargers have it too, Tony, like a little duo on rookie contracts with QJ and Lad McConkey.
Yeah, well, they're gonna offer Palmer at some point here in training camp a reasonable contract, I believe.
That'd be cool.
And then let me go back on the Davante Adams thing. A lot of people,
that's what we were talking
about. A lot of people watch the show Receiver. You got to remember that the Receiver is that show is set up for the audience to be mesmerized and get you hooked on it and right like that. And that's why a lot of the national media came out and they were pushing for it, forgetting that Receiver was recorded last season. 6 months ago was the last time they had a camera. And if Davante Adams was really that unhappy, he would have been traded or told. Like he hasn't been one of those guys that is not afraid to voice his opinion, right? So he would have asked the Raiders for the trade, and they would have probably gave it to him by now. But he does. If you listen to some of the interviews that he's done and he's talked about, and the Shannon Sharp one that he just did was really, really good. If you actually had time to watch that one, where he talked about not just the quarterback play of Jimmy G, but the offense last year that they ran he said it wasn't like a newer offense where you could get 3 first downs in a drive and you're still not even at midfield yet, or you're still 3 first downs and you're like, we're still punting the ball. He goes, in the new NFL, you get 3 first downs, you should be scoring touchdowns on a drive. And that's the kind of stuff that he's talking about. So an offensive system could be what derails you too and not make you happy. And maybe he's happy because he brought in the offense coordinator that he wanted.
It doesn't help either when you got Jimmy G back there and you finally do get the one-on-one play action and Davante does everything perfect, dusts him, and Jimmy just misses the throw. I mean, that's just probably so frustrating. It's like, I finally got my shot to make an impact on this game. I expect to make an impact on this game early and often, and the quarterback just isn't good enough to make the throw. Like, I could see why he's throwing his helmet, why he's so frustrated. But the biggest thing with Davante Adams to me is I think he's in a healthy place where he's happy with being on the Raiders and playing for the Raiders and trying to help his team win the most. But he's also got the wherewithal that his career is not done and that he's willing to leave the Raiders if he needs to get what he wants.
And I do think I would have liked to see Larry Fitzgerald go ring chasing. I would have liked to seen Calvin Johnson go ring chasing. Like, I'm all for it.
I think me and you had a convo on that Tampa team that went. We were saying, like, how cool would it be if they signed Larry halfway through the season?
Yeah. Like, all those Julio Jones signing with the Eagles or the Titans a few years ago. Like, I'm all for it. You know, like, we talk about Randy Moss. Randy Moss, people forget about this. He played in that Super Bowl with the 49ers. Mm-hmm. Like,
he had a touchdown, right?
I think he did.
He
had a big play. I watched it recently too, and now I'm blanking on the game. For me, all of these teams that are paying out a ton of money for a position for paying for wide receiver, they're in situations where the quarterback is not eating up 25% of their contracts, because it's not a good realistic situation for the Cowboys to be in, where it's like, oh, $60 million to this player and $35 million to that player. It's like, well, the offense better be number one in the league. Oh yeah, but we also have to protect him to give him time. Like, the thing is, just things aren't adding up anymore. It's like the top end 1% players are taking up so much that it's hard to put together just a quality football team. Because look at what the Chiefs did. Like, just in this one off season, there's no argument that they got better, even if all they did was add new dynamics in the speed of Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. Like, it's just a new wrinkle that people are going to have to see. Well, like, can they catch the ball better than MVS and Kadarius Toney? Because if they can, watch out. Patrick Mahomes is going for 50 this year.
Oh, fuck.
It's the truth.
No, he's too distracted. He's been
right.
College football's got him in his head. It's got him playing like his old days, like his old college football.
I will say this: the last thing
get him 2 TVs, Tony. Get him 2 TVs.
The last thing about the receiver situation, right before we jumped on, I did see a report about the Patriots reaching out to see if Ayuik was available, and the 49, like the sort of what they were hinting at was that the 49ers leaked this information so that they could try to raise the price tag for other teams. Like,
it's under the everybody's under the saying like Ayuik doesn't have leverage. Ayuik, the Niners aren't going to trade him. He's already under contract. Well, like I've told a couple of Niner fans, I go, that I call bullshit, because when he doesn't show up to training camp, well, he's going to get fined. Okay, he doesn't care about that money. Yeah. You're asking Brandon Ayuik right now to go play set for, and I know it's funny because we're asking him to play for $16-17 million. Oh, it's a lot of money. But in reality, he's losing $13 million this season sitting out, right? Because he's going to sign up to $30 million. So you're asking him to sit out and just go play his normal deal and bank on himself. No, nobody would do that. You want your money. So when he doesn't show up to training camp, and then the Niners start falling in love with Ricky Parcells or whoever else they have there, and it's getting closer to the season, they don't want to put it because they know that he's going to show up eventually, and now they're going to have that drama going the whole time. And maybe the Niners locker room can deal with that, but nobody wants to deal with that. So he's going to force his way out. And on draft day, when we were talking about why the Patriots were one of those teams, Tony, that you talked about, they have the salary cap, they have a young quarterback that needs a wide receiver. Washington's the other team that he could go to. I mean, if you wanted to, Los Angeles could be a team that needs a superstar that they could put him on there. There's a lot of teams out there, but I don't think you're going to get I don't think the Niners are going to get the package that they want for him. Like, you're not going to get a first-round pick for Brandon Ayuik.
That's the thing, that the Niners are in such a tough spot, in my opinion. In a way, their best move is to play him out for the year and then trade him next offseason. That's their best move, because you've lost kind of all the leverage of the draft already being gone, all the teams kind of having their roster set. The need for wide receiver of all these teams is not as strong or prominent at this moment. Like, the best move for the 49ers, no matter what, whether he plays, sits, doesn't fucking matter, because either way, they got to trade him. You're not going to get another Brandon Ayuk back. You're not going to get the draft picks. You're not going to get whatever immediately right now anyways. So you might as well play it out, let him play the season on his last deal, and then franchise tag him and trade him next offseason. Or maybe you try to work something out with Ayuk like Higgins has, where it's like, hey, we're not going to agree to a contract. We still need you to play, though. So 1-year deal at a pro rate that you'll be happier with. I don't know what they're going to do. It's a tough situation because their best move is to hold on to him and play him and use him and try and win the Super Bowl while they still got him and then trade him. But Ayuk doesn't seem to want to do anything.
Are the Niners, like the Niners front office, like, are they blind? Like, they didn't, after the Super Bowl, the day after the Super Bowl, like, Brandon Ayuk started causing issues, like putting on Instagram, like he's not going back to San Francisco. Like, remember his girlfriend was outside the stadium going, "This is our last time being at the stadium." Yeah. Like, this started right after the season. Like, you didn't think it was going to, you thought maybe the Niners go, "Oh, maybe I'll get better." But every meeting that you've had with them this offseason, like that didn't go good. Like, you didn't see this go anywhere. Now, I'm going to throw this out there, Tony. I already know, we know about the Patriots, Commanders, right? Those are two teams that he loves. Brandon Ayuk likes the Raiders, but I don't think it would fit there because of the issue, just because of his tie to Antonio Pierce. But here's two teams. Here's a team that I think should make the trade, and maybe I'm wrong. They have the money to do it, and they're a contending team that need to go out there and win this year. The Detroit Lions. Why not? Why not the Detroit Lions? Put them on the opposite side of St. Brown and with some of those other young receivers. The Detroit Lions, and the other one would be the Indianapolis Colts. Go out there and get it.
Colts make sense. I would say the Lions, no. I think the Lions are good on offense. They honestly, the Lions' perfect move with that money, and they won't even have to spend this much, is to go and get Justin Simmons or another equivalent level safety or DB.
Yeah, I would say them spending on defense makes a little more sense to me. So I wanted to say this, and I don't know if this helps or hurts leverage. I think it maybe helps Ayuk's leverage, but Ricky Pearsall was placed on the non-football injury list ahead of training camp. So Pearsall not being there, not being able to, because it's already hard enough for rookies to come in and learn, especially such a timing-based offense like Shanahan's system. Like, it's already a tough enough situation to be in. That means Brandon Ayuk is definitely going to be needed to be out there to be winning the one-on-one matchups, being a route runner. I kind of hope Brandon Ayuk gets traded to a team that it's going to be fun to watch him play for. That's my only thing, is don't go to a team that doesn't have the offensive head coach, because a lot of the arguments are, oh, well, look at, he put up 1,300 yards, only 74 catches, and on 100 targets or something. What if he got CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson level targets? It'd be crazy. It'd be like, part of the reason that thing works out so well and why you can target him so much is because of the offensive minds that are in play in that situation.
Yeah. And the reason that Ayuk's yards per catch are so high and that those rates are so skewed is because the 49ers just destroy you with the little CMC stuff and the Debo stuff and the Kittle stuff. And it's like, it's impossible to defend the whole field at once. So they open up those big plays to Ayuk down the field, and they help that out a lot. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's going to be interesting because the 49ers lose Ayuk. Pearsall's hurt. They're extremely thin now. I mean, they're another injury away from being in trouble.
It sounds like running a play action heavy run-based system with a smart, big arm quarterback is a great way to run your offense. That's what I'm hearing.
What, you saying maybe that might work this year? That'd be a good idea.
I'm just saying that it sounds like a good way to run your off, commit to the run the play action.
Especially when you have not one but two running backs that average 5 yards per carry in their career.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about any team specifically or any quarterback specifically.
Winningest head coach in the league as of today.
This system seems like it could be successful for certain kinds of quarterbacks. Mike, let's hit a trivia question and get out of here. Joe's getting sleepy. You got nothing for us?
I got nothing. I was gonna say maybe we could try and guess Joe's weight, but
Joe's got trivia questions on his desk. Come on, Joe. Let's hit some trivia. Where are those cards at?
If I get them all right, Tony, you have to buy me Wingstop tonight.
I always let you guess first. I guarantee I'm not buying you Wingstop.
I can get them all right.
Who is the only person to own a Super Bowl ring and an Academy Award?
I'm not sure that I know this. Actually,
no, there's no way. Did Terry Crews win the freaking Super Bowl?
No, Terry Crews never even played an NFL game.
I also don't think he has an Academy Award.
He got cut right before the first game.
I'm the worst for this. Roger Staubach.
Steve Tisch.
Who?
Steve Tisch.
I was not going to get
got you. Done. Boom! Got both of you guys.
Did you say
what is the only NFL team to have a human as their mascot?
The 49ers.
A human as a giant, titan.
The 49ers mascot is a miner.
What? No, but it's a fake guy. It's a fake person though.
Oh, you mean like an actual person? I thought you meant the character.
Like they wear like it doesn't wear a suit. Like basically is what they're asking.
You're talking about Fireman Ed from the Jets?
He's not an official mascot though.
Official I don't know the answer to this one either.
The Minnesota Vikings. Like they have a guy that dresses up as a Viking, but he's an actual person. He doesn't wear a suit.
I should have at least guessed it. At least it's a human, not an animal. 0 for 2. One more, and let's get out of here. This is weak ass trivia.
We can't go 0 for 3.
Jerome Bettis once bowled a perfect game of 300 points. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
I'm going to go with fact on this too.
Fact.
Yeah, I know that he's a good bowler. I know that he's into bowling. The good old days when running back were appreciated. Go ahead, Joe.
Last one. In 2000, the Baltimore Ravens played 5 games in a row without doing what?
Scoring a touchdown.
Scoring a touchdown.
Yep. I remember that, and that is why that defense was freaking phenomenal. That defense was so good.
Trent Dilfer.
Like the 8th best player
nowadays, Tony. Like the story. Like even if you won those games, right? They can't continue this pace. If they don't score touchdowns, they can't continue this pace.
Well, there's another team that did that, right? Was it? No, it wasn't as dominant, but I want to say it was the Steelers maybe a couple years ago. They won like 5 straight games by 3 points or less, and they all were under 20 points each team. It was something crazy.
Was that the 11-0?
Yeah, it was a couple years ago when they were undefeated and then they lost to a shitty Commanders team like randomly in the season.
11-0, and then they almost missed the playoffs, right?
Yeah, that was Ben's last year. Fun stuff. It's always good to hang out on a Friday and talk about football. I'm sure we said some crazy things based on little to no knowledge. Ton of passion about the NFL. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Training camps getting ready to kick off, so we'll have a lot of stories, I'm sure, next week to overreact to. Going to be so much fun.
We'll be there in person.
Comment.
Get excited.
Consider subscribing. I don't like to put that kind of pressure on you. If you think that this is something you might like, consider it. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to. No pressure. Lots of choices out there. All right. You guys got anything to say? Put some good stuff out on the internet. It's Friday. Say something nice to somebody on the internet.
Yeah. Don't you dare put out a diss track about the Dallas Cowboys. Don't do that.
Would either of you just put something nice onto the internet? Contribute to the world. We're out of here.